Welcome back to the Henry Hudson Hour. My guest today is someone longtime listeners have heard from before and someone I've known for literally my entire life, my sister, Emily Claypool. Since the last time Emily was on the show, she's gotten a raise at work, survived another back to school season in retail, and perhaps most importantly, reached what she describes as the fuck it stage of life. But underneath the humor is something I think a lot of people can relate to right now: the exhaustion that comes from looking around at work, money, politics, social media, and the state of the world and wondering how you're supposed to stay optimistic through all of it. Today, we're talking about toxic positivity, finding meaning in small moments, the realities of working in retail, the chaos of living in a college town, and why admitting that today's suck doesn't necessarily mean you've given up on tomorrow. Emily, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
It's good to have you back. Let's start with the most important development since your last appearance. You got a raise. How did that happen?
I did. Well, we do like a yearly review at work, and it's based off of your metrics. So obviously, they're tracking us all the time on everything. And then if you hit like basically all of your metric goals in the year, you go and have a sit down, like hour conversation with your direct manager and go over like you review yourself first and your manager first, and then they review you, and come back and you do this hour long sit down with them, and they tell you like, these are the things that you're doing well at. This is the stuff that maybe you need more work towards or you need more mentorship at, la, 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 la. But if you hit your goals, generally you're going to get like a 2% raise. You know what I mean? It's not a ton, but I mean, I'll take anything at this point.
Did it actually feel meaningful when you got it?
Yeah. Well, and for me, I guess I'm in a weird position. So I got a raise a little more than 6 months ago. So I'm getting a double raise, you know what I mean, within less than a year. So for me, that makes a huge difference, right?
Right.
Okay. Because I negotiated when they asked me to take over my department, I negotiated a little bit for more money. I basically told HR, like, this is kind of the range I really would prefer to be at. And they were like, they gave it to me, like, not the max amount I wanted, of course, but, so it was nice. I can't complain about more money.
When I asked you if you felt like you were in a different place in life now, your answer was essentially, I don't know and I don't care. You called it the fuck it stage. What exactly is the fuck it stage?
Right. Okay. So I care so much about things and I get really upset about them, right? When it comes to like cutting Medicare or food stamps or student loan money, or, I hear about all these things that hurt, maybe not me directly, but are hurting all of my neighbors, my friends, my family members, strangers, like, I don't know, but like it's hurting people, and even if it's environmental stuff, right? Like all these food outbreaks of salmonella and whatever that parasite is that's living in our lettuce now. Like I get irrationally, and maybe not irrationally, I feel like it's rational to get really upset about these things, right? Like, why aren't we doing more? This can be fixed. Somebody needs to be held accountable, right? I really feel that things should work, right? We're all paying a lot of money into the system in taxes so that the system works, right? But our representatives in particular just seem to not really care or not be able to do anything, right? Like they say they're going to change things, they say that they're going to make it better, but then it never really gets better. And like, I know they don't really care like about me as a human, right? Like they don't, I'm just a number on a page. And how would they, like, they don't know me, but um, I've gotten to the point where it's just fuck it, where, like, look, something absolutely insane is going to happen tomorrow, right? Which seems to happen every single day, right? There's some new insane news story that I don't know how to function with. And so I've gotten to the point where I just have to let it all go, right? Before I would maybe protest, write letters, I would be active and a part of the system, right? We, the people. And now I've gotten to the point where I just don't have the capacity to give a fuck. So, just fuck it. Like, I am just a passenger here. I don't get to make decisions. I don't get to change the rules. I have to deal with whatever the major corporations want us to do, basically, is how I view it. So just fuck it, right?
Do you think there's actually something freeing about reaching the point where you stop worrying so much about things you can't control?
Yes, like there is. It's definitely, I feel kind of guilty sometimes. I'm like, wow, I should really give a fuck, right? Like I should really care about these things because they do, at the heart of it, like this stuff really matters to me, right? Like ICE taking children away from their parents and deporting, the mom, but not the kids, and the kids are stuck here. And it's all heartbreaking. It all just really tears me up emotionally because I don't believe in my soul. This is how we should treat people. Just grocery prices shouldn't be this high for the average American. Like you shouldn't be worrying and trying to figure out whether you're going to pay your mortgage or be able to afford food this month for your family, or whether you're going to do groceries or gas or groceries or prescriptions or whatever your current family, friend house, poly, or whatever your group's concern is, or even if you're just a single, you shouldn't be having to face what I view as life and death situational choices on a regular basis.
Right, I agree. You work in retail and you just survived back to school tax-free weekend. For anyone who has never worked in retail during something like that, what is it actually like?
I work in a children's department, so tax-free back to school weekend is particularly rough for me. I don't know if everybody else agrees, but it's a lot. It's I won't say it's exactly akin to a real war, because that's, devaluing people who've actually gone to war and their experience. And it's saying that my experience is the same, which it is not. Like, I'm not dodging bullets and shit, but it's an onslaught of just, I already deal with a decent amount of traffic flow on a busy weekend anyway, and you just amp that up till 10, and you just have to be on the whole day. And that's really hard. There's no lulls, there's no breaks, it is just go, 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 go,
right,
go, go,
it's
go.
like working in the grocery store the day before a holiday.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think did you tell me that you were the top salesperson in your store that Saturday?
I was, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
But apparently that accomplishment led to a somewhat less inspirational realization. You basically thought, and what exactly did that get me?
Yeah, because, okay, so management was all very, very pleased with me, like upper management. They're like, oh, you sold the most on Saturday. Congratulations. Because that's normally very hard to do for my department, because my clothes, obviously, children, infant clothes are much cheaper normally than adult clothes. So outselling every other department and every other person in the store is normally not the easiest thing to do. I've done it a couple of times, but I've never ended up at the end of the day. Like I've been top during my shift, but then, someone will come in and sell, like $10,000 of clothes at once. And I'm like, well, I'm fucked. So it felt good for a minute. I was like, you know what? Look at me. I'm really doing something. But then I started thinking about it logically, where I was like, so what do I get from it? Right. So I've now surpassed all the women's and the men's sections, right? I've surpassed all of their sales. I've surpassed every single other person, including everyone on my team's sales, which, I mean, that's a pretty given, I guess, most days, but I don't get any compensation for it. It's not like I make commission. It's not like I'm going to see a bigger bonus in my bonus check because of it. So, and it's not, and it also, the other thing is like, it's an achievable goal, but it's not achievable on a daily basis, right? Like I'm not going to be the top salesperson next Saturday when I go back to work. I'm not, right? Like, because women's and men's clothes are 2 to 3 times the price of kids' clothes. It's much harder for me to make the same amount of sales, even if I'm selling far, far more product than those departments are. I'm never going to hit the like same metrics they are when it comes to like value. So, yeah, I just was like, well, it doesn't really matter. Like, I get that management obviously is very happy with me. And some of my coworkers were like, congratulations, and giving me hugs and like being very sweet about it, which is nice. And I get that I did do a really good job, clearly, and that, my customers left happy, clearly. But, like for me personally, I could have been like the top fit number 5 salesperson and had just the same amount of satisfaction. I could have been number 10 in the store that day and would have been fine with it. Now, would management have been fine with it? That's a different question. But personally, like I get no reward. So it was just, besides like a high five.
Created a culture where people are constantly being told to go above and beyond without asking what they're actually getting in return.
Yes. And I feel like there's
this too.
Yeah, there's this expectation that you are supposed to do 110%, which is impossible. And I hate that phrase, but that you're supposed to go above and beyond your normal human capacity on a daily basis. And but there's no real reward for it, right? At least not something tangible that you can see or feel or whatever. Now, for people who work in companies where you get commission or where you might do profit sharing, you would probably have a very different outlook on the situation I'm in because you would have made a big fat check, right? But I did not, in fact, make a big fat check. I'm getting paid the exact same as I get paid whether or not I, excel. So, and I'm sure it'll help down the line. Like if I stay another year, they'll look at my metrics and be like, okay, well, you did really well, blah, 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 every holiday season. So let's give her another raise, right? Which is useful, but sometimes I wonder why I'm sacrificing my own sanity, mental well-being, physical wellness, like for something that there is no immediate tangible benefit. Where I can just slow my roll and still keep doing a good job, technically. You know what I mean? I was like, what am I chasing?
Something completely different happened during that same crazy weekend. A 7-year-old hugged you. What happened?
Oh, yeah. This little girl came up to me. And mind you, we're packed. Parents, kids, there's Cheerios on the ground. I mean, it's chaos. And this little girl came up to me. I had been helping her older brother with some stuff. And the older brother really wanted to try on the jacket, but the only one I had in his size was on the mannequin. So I was going to take it off and bring it to him. And this little girl, his sister, came up to me after I was like done taking the jacket off. And she goes, "Can I give you a hug?" And I always feel awkward in these situations because I'm not your family. I'm not a family friend. I'm a random stranger lady, but right, the child is offering the hug. So I'm like, "Yeah, sure, honey. Like, we can hug." And that felt like the biggest accomplishment of the whole weekend, right? Like that was the nicest, best moment of my entire weekend was that little girl wanting to give me a hug. And I don't know if it's because she could see how exhausted I was or if she could just tell I'm trying to go above and beyond for my kids, as I see them, like all the kids, I really try to make the children happy. Um, but it brightened my whole day, man. It made the whole day was a little bit sweeter just because someone actually, a customer, and mind you, a little tiny 7-year-old customer wanted to say thank you, which is a word I don't hear very often. And that
It's funny
gratitude.
because adults can spend an entire day worrying about money, work, politics, bills, and everything else. And then a kid who knows absolutely nothing about any of that can completely change your day in 5 seconds.
Pretty much. And I think it's just, I don't know if it's because they're more self involved or less self involved, but I often find that, especially when I'm working one on one with the kids, things are super easy, right? They'll tell you, my favorite color is red. Okay, well, do you need a red sweater? Yeah, I do. Okay, well, let's go get you a red sweater. Or, whatever it is. Like, what do you like? What do you not like? Oh, you're really into bluey? Cool. You know what I mean? Like, it tends to be easier with them. Like, obviously, with toddlers, that is not true. Toddlers are just chaos monsters. But and when they say thank you, I really know they mean it. It's not, when it comes out authentically, it's not mom being like, "Tell her thank you." You know what I mean? It becomes like a very apparent thing that you really did something that made them happy. And the fact that I wasn't even directly helping the little girl, I was helping her older, like teen, tween aged brother. Um, just made a difference. Like she was just so happy that I helped him. And I was like,
Did that moment remind you that there are still good things happening even when you're frustrated with everything else?
yeah, I mean, it's hard not to be reminded about that in my section at least once during, there's the kids that are like not in the mood, don't want to be there, make a mess, don't listen, right? Destroy things. There's the kids that don't want to talk to you at all, don't want to make eye contact, stare at their phones, especially a lot of the teenagers are really difficult that way. They make huge, huge messes. Um, Especially when they're in like packs, they come in and just destroy stuff. But yeah, when one of my little customers says thank you, or offers a high five or a fist bump or whatever, it makes it just a little bit better.
Now let's talk about the annual invasion. You live in a small university town and it's move-in weekend. Describe what happens to your town when all the students and parents arrive. You compared the parents to an army of ants. What does that look like?
Bro, it's crazy. So first off, half the town, the streets are just clogged, right? So They have tried to make it better. A couple years ago, it was just a free for all. So it was just like, you move in, this is your dorm. We start move-ins at like 7 a.m. And so parents would be wrapped around streets. I couldn't get out of my house because I legitimately live across the street from the university. So I wouldn't be able to get out of my driveway because there'd just be carloads of angry parents that are frustrated. They've been sitting in these cars, and students, but a lot of times they come with their parents. And now they have like a schedule system where they have batches and you have to go pick up, you have a time card, I think, thing that you have to print out that shows that you're there for the 10 o'clock move-in time. And so they closed down several of the streets where the turn lane turns into local traffic only lane. And then the main thoroughfare lanes will be just for parents and students to line up into their cars to get into the big parking lots to get whatever they need, their paperwork, their assignments, whatever it is, directions to where they go. And then obviously, since I live so close to the university, I often cut through the university to get to other side of town. But, right now, for the past weekend, most of the streets have been one way only, university traffic only. So it means I'm having to go out and around town and doing these sneaky little weird moves to get back to my house. So for instance, yesterday, I got back and the way to turn up the hill to my house is just a line of cars going backed up almost all the way to the highway, and they're not moving. So I ended up having to take it took me basically an extra 30 minutes to get home yesterday. And that's kind of how it goes. And then all the stores are packed. So, and it's, a lot of it is not great, right? Like you have returning students who are just trying to like get stuff for their apartments or their dorms or whatever. But then you also have the first time parents with their kids and they're freshmen, and the parents are arguing with their 18, 19-year-old, 17, whatever year olds about like what they can get at HEB, what they can get at Target, what they can get at IKEA, what they can get at Walmart. And it's just, everyone's frustrated. Everyone's exhausted. Everyone is, these parents and these students are normally, a lot of them are hyper emotional, right? Because they're saying goodbye in a real way to each other for the first time. Like you're not coming home, for 6 months kind of goodbyes. And so it's just a mess. It's just, normally I take this weekend off. I refuse to go to work. I refuse to leave my house, and I just sit at home. And then obviously the other flip side of it, right? Because we're a small, sleepy town during the summers, especially, is just everything. And I always kind of forget it every year, but everything all of a sudden is just jam packed, filled with people. So like going to the park is difficult with the dog because there's just a million people there. Going, to a restaurant and they're like, oh no, it's going to be at least a 2-hour wait. And you're like, oh no.
And you told me you were sitting in a line of cars for so long that you actually started worrying you were going to run out of gas.
Yeah, I was.
But I guess you said you were sitting there for like over 30 minutes.
Yeah, well, someone's car. So there's only like in the major ways to get up the hill in my town, there's 2 roads, right, that you can turn up to go up the hill. And both of them are 1-lane roads, right? And someone's car, like one turn lane, someone's car had broken down in the turn lane right in front of the lights. So the people who are trying to go straight aren't letting people merge over to turn to go up the hill. So there's just a line going for God knows how long, just sitting there, and we're all just sitting there waiting for this car to get moved. And of course there's police officers and stuff everywhere. They're not really helping. I'm assuming they got towed or somebody fixed it, but like there's no way a tow truck could have gotten to that point faster than I did. I think it took me, all in all, what normally is about a 10-minute trip up the hill took me about 45 minutes.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember getting stuck in the move-in traffic at UT when I worked downtown. And it was so awful. I didn't know that it was move-in day, basically. So I just got totally fucked and I was stuck forever. I was like an hour late to work.
Yeah.
And it was terrible.
It is. And also, I will say, when it was a free for all, I used to go to Costco and buy like packs of bottled water, iced tea, like the big pallets of them. And we'd put coolers out in the front yard. And we'd sit out there and we'd sell bottled water, which I'm sure is somewhat kind of illegal, but whatever. We'd sit out in the front yard and we'd sell water, iced tea, sodas, and stuff to all the cars that had been sitting in lines for hours trying to get in, right? To all these frustrated parents and students, right? Like, hey, it's 115 degrees, but I've got ice cold water. You want some water? But now that they have this schedule moved in, it's more, there's a lot of waiting, and then there's a lot of, you get these spurs of traffic. So you get like, all of a sudden the street is unusable, but only for about 15 minutes, which is better overall, but it's still frustrating.
And then you've got a whole new group of young drivers learning their way around town.
Yeah. And also a whole new group of teenagers who are without any parental supervision. And for some of them, for the first time in their life. And that normally leads to chaos, you know? So, like, nobody really wants to go to the bars downtown. Nobody really wants to go out. You know, if you're an older person, nobody wants to go to the grocery store. Nobody wants to go to a single restaurant, right? The kids are all hyped up on life and hope and positivity or whatever, right? They're super excited and they're running around like crazy people, right? Like they're not using their turning signals. They're just randomly slamming on their brakes and taking a turn because they don't know where they're going. Or,
Right.
you know, this happens to me at least once a year where some girls or guys are trying to cross, but they won't go down to the crosswalk. And it's, you know, the speed limit's 45. So I'm going 45. And all of a sudden there's a group of teenagers running across the middle of the road on a downhill, you know, switchback lane. And you're like, ooh, if I hadn't seen y'all, like this wouldn't have ended well, right? Like I would have hit you. Like there are crosswalks, and they're like the protected ones too, where they hit the thing and it changes the light colors. Yeah, we have multiple just crosswalks without it being an actual stoplight for them, for their safety. But they're all hyped up on, you know, being adults for the first time. So they just kind of, they're wild. And they even did fireworks for him the other night. And I was like, well,
wow.
that's new. Yeah. I was like, what the heckity. And I looked outside
That's
and I was
crazy.
like, oh, the kids are getting fireworks this year.
You've also been thinking about something much bigger lately. You said you found yourself wondering, how is the United States going to keep at the rate it's going? What's making you feel that way? Is it one particular thing, or is it the accumulation of everything? Prices, politics, the news, just everyday life getting more difficult?
Yeah, I think it's the accumulation of everything. So, you know, as everybody knows who's listening, everything has gotten dramatically more expensive, right? Like I paid like $100 for 3 bags of groceries the other day. Like it wasn't a lot of food. It was like $120. I was kind of shocked, which I always am. I don't know why, but I'm still just like, how are some apples and peanut butter and tortillas, some cans of black beans, like this much money? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't fill my fridge. I didn't get a lot, but I was still just like, wow, that's that's a lot. And then gas prices are really high still, as everybody knows. So none of it is how much pressure can an average American take is my question right now. Like, how much can they squeeze us? Is I know a lot of people do get paid very well. They're maybe not feeling the squeeze quite as hard as us working class stiffs, but I don't know how much longer this is all going to be able to hold itself together, right? From
Yeah, you told me there was a time when you assumed things would eventually get better because people simply wouldn't tolerate things getting bad enough.
Yeah. And now I'm at the point where I just think people have to tolerate it getting bad enough, right? Like nobody's going to stand up and, you know, fight for us, right? Like, I mean, the politicians can promise whatever they're going to promise, but until I see one of them actually make a change, which they're not, right? Like they're not. So gas prices super super high. Yes, they've come down a little bit, but they're still super high. Food prices outrageously high, right? And now every week there's a new recall because something's making you inexplicably sick, and they're just grasping at what it is, right? First, we're told it's Taylor Farms. Then they come out and tell us it's not Taylor Farms. Now, maybe it is Taylor Farms, but not really Taylor Farms. And I don't understand why we should take the risk of everything anymore, right? Like the job market, not great. Housing market, not great. Iran has said that they're just going to wait Trump out, that the Strait of Hormuz, as far as they're concerned, is going to stay closed until Trump's out of office because he clearly will not talk to them on terms. So, which is, the failure of diplomacy, right? People don't understand that you have to actually continue the conversation. When you close the conversation, resolution dies, right? It's like Iran just blocked us like we're a bad ex. Um, so and then on top of that, all the other stuff, right? So they just decided to reschedule vaccines, and they're using the same old excuse that this is because of autism, because vaccines cause autism, which all the science says that vaccines don't cause autism. That's just something that you're born with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the current administration is pushing that it causes all sorts of things. And so now kids aren't going to get vaccinated on schedule, which means more disease, more risk to the rest of the population, right? And I don't know why you'd rather your child get polio or measles or rubella or whatever, smallpox. I mean, that could be on our bingo card at some point. But I don't know
Yeah.
why people refuse to think about the other, because it seems like one of the most selfish things on planet Earth. to say, no, not, you know what I mean?
Right. I agree.
Because it's like you take your dog to get it rabies vaccinated. You take your dog to get their Tdap, all their shots, right? For diphtheria and all the other kennel cough, all the stuff that they need. And you're fine doing that, right? You're fine getting your dog vaccinated against rabies, but you're not fine getting your child vaccinated for deadly diseases that will kill and spread to others. And sometimes, these parents make the choice that even though my kid is sick with measles or whatever it is, I'm still going to send them to school and they're now going to infect other people, or I'm still going to take them to church even though they're sick with an infectious disease. And so that obviously is extremely upsetting as someone who, cares.
Right. You've expressed serious concerns about the direction of the government and what you see as increasingly authoritarian tendencies.
Yes. That's also frightening.
What would you say to someone who looks at the same country and doesn't share that sense of alarm?
I would say you're not looking at the big picture, right? So I understand that we want to look at humans as individual humans and that everybody has the right to make their own choices, which, by the way, only works for one side of this argument. Okay. So, right, you have the right to not ever vaccinate your child, but you also don't have the right to have an abortion. So make that make sense to me. But you're not looking at it as the total sum of humanity, right? If you broke it down and looked at humans more like you would a herd of cattle, right? Which I know people don't want me to talk like this, but whatever. You wouldn't introduce an inoculized cow into a group of cattle that already were inoculized. Like you would be like, that one needs to get like its shots. You wouldn't put a dog into a kennel if you suspected it had rabies, right? Like they're not going to let you board your dog if it doesn't have proper shots, right? Most boarding facilities will not, doggy daycares, whatever, they will not take your dog if it is not vaccinated. And that's for the greater health of not just your dog, but all the other dogs. So what I see a lot of is this is good for me and this is good for my family. So I'm going to do it my way, regardless of the outcomes to everybody else, because nobody else's outcome matters to me more than I'm right and I want what I want. So, for instance, right, whether it's your personal freedoms, right, with flock cameras, like how did we agree to that? How did we agree to have a private company that surveils your movements, surveils your face, surveils your biometric movements 24/7, that is accessible to your HOA, to the police department? And HOAs are not the police. They are not the CIA. They are not the FBI. They are not. That is your next door neighbor, Karen, and her husband, Ken, who now have access to all of your biometric data and everywhere you have driven, every time you leave your house, what you're doing when you leave your house, where you're going from when you leave your house to when you come back to your house. How is that legal?
Yeah, that's crazy. I've kind of heard about these cameras, but I haven't really read into it much because I figured it would be very upsetting.
I mean, they're pretty much across the entire country now. There's several apartment complexes and nicer neighborhoods here in my small little town who decided to put them up because they claim that it's going to lower crime. Now, first off, I live in the suburbs. It is not a high crime area. The kind of crime that happens here is like your bike got stolen because you left it in the yard drunk. Like, it's not, I forgot to lock my car the other day. Like, nothing happens to it, right? Like, I don't live in a super high crime area. So to me, this fear of crime is far, far, far more pungent than the actual reality that crime rates are historically low, right? Part of that is because everyone is being filmed everywhere they go already, right? There's ring cameras, there's, every store has security systems, right? I know our store security has AI tracking in it, so it knows exactly who I am and what I look like and tracks my every movement in the store all day long while I'm working. Right? Metrics. Because I'm sure my corporate bosses really need to know how many times I go pee during a day. But apparently they do need to know. But yeah, these slot cameras, I don't know how we all just decided that nobody deserves any privacy. That you can't just get in your car and go on a drive. And I mean, you can, but you're going to be surveilled while you're doing it. Everywhere you go, you are being surveilled now. Every
Do you
time
think constantly having access to alerts and bad news makes us feel like everything is more dangerous than it actually is?
Yes. And I think the news has they overplay it, right? They exaggerate it. They make it a bigger problem than it is. It's on every single channel, website, social media app, just 24/7, feeding that fear, feeding that morbid curiosity that we all have, right? And so I feel that it does make it seem like things are getting worse and worse and worse, when in reality, if you look at the actual metric data, things have gotten better and better and better, right? We've never lived in a safer world. We have never lived in a world with less home break-ins, less violence, less whatever. Now, mind you, we do have more shootings, like mass shootings, but I think that stuff comes from a different problem, which is we do not take mental health care seriously at all.
Right.
Right? Because if we took mental health care seriously, and if we took our citizens' well-being seriously, you wouldn't see these individuals that have gotten to this point. And then we also glorify them by playing it on the news 24/7 in people's ears, in people's faces, on podcasts. People are doing their makeup while talking about how this kid showed up to a college and shot up 50 people, right? Like, it's just for entertainment purposes, right? But it's just feeding into that, oh God, I'm so nervous, I'm so scared, I'm so in fear. And like, that's not helping. So I don't think we're doing great, you know?
This brings us to something you said during our pre-interview that I really wanted to explore. You think there's such a thing as toxic positivity. What does that mean to you?
To me, it's the fact that we're never allowed to be unhappy, right? That there's become this assumption. And once again, I think social media has made this a million times fucking worse. There is this assumption that you should always be happy. You should always be smiling. You should always, today's a great day, guys. And every day after is going to be the best day you've ever had. And we're all going to have our best day every day. right? And it's this forced toxic positivity where like not, and that's so far removed from reality and so far removed from a healthy emotional IQ. Not every day is going to be a great day. Not every day is going to be a happy day. Some days are terrible, no good, bad days. Some days are just meh, right? Like there's a whole range of emotion that we are chopping out of the conversation because it's uncomfortable for others. And I don't know exactly what that says about us as a modern society when other grown adults cannot handle the fact that you are dealing with something, right?
Right, for sure. I think social media has definitely made it worse because online everybody seems to be thriving. They're happy, they're successful, their relationships are perfect, they're traveling, they're accomplishing something. Like, how much of that do you think is actually real?
Very little of it. Because I think it's just for show. I think most people struggle. Most people have bad days. Most people have a moment where they break down on the interstate and they just want to scream because, you know, you've been stuck in traffic for hours. I think most people, you know, have a day where they get angry or they're upset or they're irritable or they didn't sleep well and they haven't eaten and they're grouchy and they're tired and they hurt, right? But we're not supposed to express any of that because it's not polite. What's polite nowadays is, hi, oh my God, bestie, today is such a wonderful day. And guess what? I had a horrible car crash on the way to work, but it's fine, right? Which that is not a normal way to,
Response.
no. And it feels very much, it's a very childish point of view.
Right. Do you think constantly seeing that creates an expectation that we're somehow failing if we're simply having an ordinary or terrible day?
Yeah, well, that is, you know, because people are like, well, what's wrong with you? Something must be
Right.
terribly wrong. Like, you must be deranged. Like, something's, she's always, you know what I mean? Like, she's too negative. And I'm like, that's not really how it works,
Right.
right?
There's definitely a difference between hope and pretending everything is fine.
Exactly. Or, you know, and then I think a lot of people are, instead of being able to be healthy about it and talk about it openly, right? Like being able to say, hey, I'm really anxious right now. The situation is making me really anxious. I know maybe I'm the only one that's having extreme anxiety about this, but I need to go calm down. I need a solution. I need to figure this out because I am freaking out right now and I need some help or peace, or I need to take a step back. Like like, or I'm just uncomfortable and unwilling, right? Those those sorts of conversations are less and less and less and less and less because you're just expected to take it. And then I think people are in internalizing, right? Because they have no outlet for any of this negativity. They have no outlet for I'm having a bad day. Today fucking sucks. They have no outlet for sadness, grief, apathy, right? Like all these things that we feel that are normal emotional states, right? We have no outlet for them. So the only place you can do is to internalize it. And I don't think that's healthy, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. What I find interesting is for someone who says she's reached the fuck it stage, you haven't actually given up. When I asked you what you wanted people to take away from this episode, you said it may not get better, but each day is a new day and there is possibility. Where does that possibility come from for you? Is it something big, or is it little moments like the 7-year-old hugging you at work?
It's a combination of both. Like, one, every day is a new day, right? I have no idea what's going to happen today, right? I don't control the other several billion people on this planet. I don't control Mother Nature. Know that very well, right? I'm just a passenger. The only person I control is me. Um, so things could change tomorrow. There could be something miraculous that happens, right? It's happened in the past. It can happen again, right? Something really transformative, whether it's society or culturally, something could happen, right? It could. And I know that because that's how things work, right? It could happen. There is the absolute possibility, no matter how slim that possibility is, that roll of the dice is, it could happen, right? If life was a giant D20 and I rolled it, right? I may not hit, 20 every time, but at some point it's going to happen if I just keep rolling the fucking dice.
Right.
So eventually something will change. Now, am I necessarily thinking that overnight my life is going to drastically change and life is all of a sudden going to become effusively better? No, no. And part of that is, people will say, well, what if you won the lottery? Your life would dramatically change. And like, yes, my life would probably dramatically change in terms of finances, but that doesn't change the struggles I have internally, right? Morally, or the struggles I have interpersonally, right? That doesn't change that some kid's going to give me an attitude at the store because he doesn't want to actually do his job. That doesn't change that, I'm going to get bad news from the doctor, right? I'm not in charge of all the things in life. There's a lot of mitigating factors to a day. So, and maybe it's just, I don't know, I'm kind of sunshiny disposition, I guess, but tomorrow is a new day. Just because today was a horrible, no good day doesn't mean tomorrow is going to be a horrible, no good day. Tomorrow could be fucking fabulous for all I know. Or
what keeps you going when you're having one of those days where everything feels pointless?
the belief that, like I said, maybe tomorrow it won't be pointless. Maybe tomorrow there will be a little girl that gives me a hug for no good reason and it just makes my whole day better. Or maybe I'll find, a new family of toads in my front yard that I'm going to have to make them a new toad house, or maybe, there'll be hummingbirds that nest outside my window. You know what I mean? Like there's all sorts of little magical things that I look for, you know, maybe tomorrow I will feel more at peace in my own body. Maybe tomorrow I'll have less inflammation. Maybe my joints won't hurt so much tomorrow. You know what I mean? Because I do have good days. So it's just this constant thought that, there's another sunrise, there's another sunset, there's more stars, there's more life, as weird and fucked up and as glorious as it is, it's it is glorious. You know what I mean?
For sure. And on that note, let's get to the news.
Woo!
Okay, so I know we had already mentioned the outbreaks with the food that spread from lettuce to jalapenos and now to eggs. I found this really damning report about Taylor Farms, who was tied to the cyclospora outbreak, the lettuce one. Apparently they use prison labor to pick their lettuce.
Oh, I'm not surprised by that. I mean, they're about as big of an evil mega corporation as you can get.
Yeah,
Um,
so apparently um it says reporting about the company's use of prison labor has re-entered the conversation, raising new concerns about its labor practices. According to Futurism, a 2023 report by Prison Legal News identified Taylor Farms as one of several Arizona companies that contracted labor from Arizona's Department of Corrections, Rehabilitation, and Reentry through Arizona Correctional Industries. Under the arrangement, the state charged companies $475 an hour for the labor, while incarcerated workers in Arizona could earn no more than $1.50 an hour.
yeah, well, I mean, they're going to keep
So
doing it.
I'm definitely never purchasing anything from that company ever again for the rest of my life. Like,
Yeah. Well, it's hard because a lot of companies private label their products. So like
right, I
there's
know.
products at like Trader Joe's, Costco, like all these other brands that use Taylor Farm products because they are that big of a company. Um, I mean, they shouldn't have slashed FDA funding. I mean, whoever thought that was a good move. I mean, look at all the screwworm. I mean, have you heard that there's human
Right.
cases of screwworm now? So,
Yeah, I've heard about the screw worm.
I mean, one of the things I think that have made America great, to steal that phrase, was that you could go into a grocery store and you could trust all the products, that nothing was going to make you sick, right? Like all this parasites, salmonella, all this stuff, right? This is happening in the factories or when they're moving the product or whatever.
Mm,
None of this should be happening to us, the consumer. This is all because of cost cutting and being fucking lazy. I'm
yeah.
sorry. Like I want a bigger, it's CEOs sitting in the boardroom saying, I want as much profit as humanly possible. I want as little overhead as humanly possible. And I want to make as much bonus money as humanly possible because clearly I need several billion more dollars. And while their greed gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger every year, we, the consumer, suffer more and more.
It even states in this
Right.
article that the report also stated that Arizona's corrections agency contracted out 15,700 Mexican nationals from 2008 to 2023, and that at least 26 prisoners working for companies, including Taylor Farms, had been detained by ICE. So it's just really a shit situation with that company. They're obviously, I mean, that's horrible. Forced prison labor is really
Oh, let me
something
shocked.
that I'm so against. So,
Yeah.
and it's also makes less surprising that they caused an outbreak when they're using prison labor
Yeah.
to make the
Um,
lettuce.
well, it really is just there's no oversight, right? Like
Right.
there's not enough inspectors to inspect shit, right? In these processing plants and stuff. There's no one catching what should be caught, right? Like I much rather instead of dealing with recall after recall after recall because all this stuff is making us sick in the grocery stores, they just caught it beforehand. Like, okay, I have to buy a different brand of eggs this week. They're more expensive. That's fine. Or I can't get
Yeah.
lettuce right now because it's all fucked up and we're just going to burn it. Like, I much rather they catch it than they continue to put the product out on the shelves and are just making you play do you want to get sick? Do you want to chance it? How much do you miss salad? You really miss salad? Guess what? We have salad. Don't you want it?
So I wanted to talk about this mysterious bright red cat that sparked a rescue effort and online buzz in Texas. A Texas animal shelter is asking residents not to feed or approach a bright red cat as crews work to safely trap and evaluate it. This happened in League City, about, I think it's like 20 minutes south of Houston.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought this was really weird. Like, why would someone spray paint a cat red?
People are monsters.
It's really sad, but it's a cute cat. It looks like it might be a Russian blue, but it's all red. Its fur is all red. And
is it painted red or is it like,
well, that's the mystery. People don't know whether it's been painted or, I mean, I would assume it's been painted, right?
yeah, maybe Kitty got into something Kitty shouldn't have gotten in. Now it's red.
That's true. It could have gotten into something, but
Yeah,
officials were telling people not to feed it because if they feed it, it would be less likely to enter the trap
that makes sense.
to get food. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, it's
cats,
25 miles southeast of Houston.
I mean, if it's a good kitty, it's just going to start killing things on its own.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe a cat whisperer.
I don't know either. It's very strange. It's just tragic that somebody would paint a cat red. I don't know why, but who knows what happened to it. Like you said, it could have gotten into something.
Yeah. Like I know heavy iron deposits will turn like soil red and stuff. It could have gotten into something like that or some fertilizer. Who knows? I mean, maybe somebody was spraying their house red and the cat was underneath the house and accidentally got sprayed. I don't know. So
And I know we recently watched that shipwreck documentary about the Costa Concordia. That was crazy.
Yeah.
There was another boat recently in the New York harbor that capsized. Passengers aboard the boat were celebrating a birthday. The 14 passengers aboard the overcrowded motorboat that capsized in New York harbor were celebrating a birthday before it flipped off Liberty Island late Saturday, killing a mom and her infant daughter. The 22-foot bow rider was chartered with Zeus Luxury for passenger Paula Riviera's surprise 45th birthday on a Saturday before the fatal accident unfolded, her daughter Sarah Reyes said. This is just another example of why I don't like to go out on the ocean.
I mean, I don't mind going out on the ocean. I just think people need to be smarter.
Yeah, it says it was dangerously overcrowded. Uh-huh.
Yeah, exactly. And this comes to this, right? People misunderstand the customer is always right. That is not about customer wants. That is about the price point that you can sell things at. The customer is always right when it comes to how much value your product has. If you overprice a product, people are not going to buy it because it's not worth the squeeze. That is what that statement is talking about. But I think that has been conflated somehow into never telling the customer no. And obviously, the risk of not telling customers no in this situation was the loss of a mother and baby, which is a terrible, horrible tragedy that was avoidable, right? If they had just said, no, you can have only 50 people on this boat or whatever it was supposed to be, right? Whatever their max capacity as the law has already decided, is they have probably already been told by the harbor master and everyone else, however they get their business paperwork done in New York, right? There's
Right. The
probably legal
passengers
limits on this.
claimed that the boating company said everything was legal, including the number of people aboard.
Okay. But then they're saying it was dangerously overcrowded, which,
Right. The vessel, which features front seating, was packed with 14 people despite a seating capacity of no more than 10.
yeah. Well, see, there you go.
Fuck
Right?
around and find out.
Exactly. Exactly.
Golly.
Like I'm not scared of going out into the ocean or being on a boat, but like if it's overpacked and cuckoo banana beans, like don't get on. It's not worth it. It's not. People need to be smarter. Do
Now,
their
Trump's
jobs.
approval rating has hit new lows in recent polling. It's hit
That's
another
surprising.
record low. Let's see how bad it is. The survey released August 11th found that 33% of Americans approve of Trump's performance.
Yeah.
This marks the lowest approval rating the president has seen in YouGov tracking since he returned to office. Yeah, it's not surprising at all. That's really bad. What does that mean? 67% disapprove of him?
Yeah.
It says 65% of respondents said the country is headed in the wrong direction.
Well, I would agree with that. I mean, for a country that screams about personal freedoms, we sure have taken them away from almost everybody. So.
Right. And this is not good news for Republicans in the midterm elections, because historically, when the president has a low approval rating, they lose the midterms.
Yeah. Well, we've got a grandpa in a diaper who goes off on wild fucking tangents and seems to only care about making his buddies and himself as rich as humanly possible, while letting the rest of us suffer as much as possible. In charge, the rest of us are going to suffer as much as possible. I mean, I don't know what people expected. I mean,
says,
has he?
In the newest Economist / YouGov poll, Democrats hold an 8-point lead over the GOP in a generic congressional ballot.
I'm not surprised. But then again, the Democrats aren't doing anything. So, you know, I feel
I mean, right now they can't because they have no control, but.
Yeah, well, even then, like, it feels like, I don't know. To be honest, I feel like both parties are just owned by the biggest billionaires and that they're just going to do whatever their donors tell them to do. Right?
Yeah.
Like, they're just going to follow the playbook that's handed to them by some corporation that now owns them.
And I was going to talk about the latest lawsuit that spanned from the Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni legal battle, but it's pretty boring. It's just this journalist that works for The Guardian, and he got fired over his reporting on their legal battle, and then now he's like suing The Guardian, saying that they wrongfully terminated him.
Okay, well, I mean, that court case is a hot fucking mess.
I know.
I mean, honestly, both of them just threw away like $10 million.
I think more than that, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, what a waste of money.
BBC seeks to subpoena Trump family members in a defamation suit.
Yeah, well, I think that's good. Somebody should put the horns to the bull.
I do too. It says the British broadcaster says Donald Trump Jr., Ivanka Trump, and Jared Kushner have relevant knowledge about the president's actions on January 6, 2021. The BBC is seeking to subpoena President Donald Trump's son, his daughter, and his son-in-law in connection with a $10 billion defamation lawsuit the president is pressing against the UK broadcaster.
Yeah, well, once again, fuck around and find out, right? Like,
right. Lawyers for the BBC say the Trump family members, without question, have personal knowledge about President Trump's intentions in delivering the speech at the heart of the case. His January 6, 2021 address to supporters at the Ellipse as the Capitol attack was getting underway.
well, yeah, I mean, I can't believe we've forgiven any of them for that fucking bullshit stunt, because that's what it was. It's a bullshit stunt.
Oh, I know. I couldn't believe that he didn't like get incarcerated or something. I just, it's unbelievable.
Feels like treason to me, bro. Feels like treason to me.
Right, exactly.
They had people putting up gallows trying to hang Nancy Pelosi. How is that acceptable? How is that decorum? How is that a better nation together? How is that civil towards anybody? You don't have to agree with people, but you do have to tolerate them. You know, how is that, you know, I'm good on BBC. Somebody needs to get some actual real answers. And obviously, our government and our media conglomerates are unwilling to get answers because they're too scared.
Right.
Which, when did we become a country filled with pussies?
A lawyer for the Secret Service informed the BBC's lawyers by email that the agency could not accept the subpoenas.
Oh, of course.
Right.
Like,
but
am I surprised? No.
in a motion filed Friday in a federal court in Miami, the BBC's attorney said the president's lawyers also refused to accept the subpoenas. The network is asking the court to authorize service by mail or to order that service through President Trump's attorneys as adequate.
Yeah. Well,
so we'll see what happens with this. I'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, it could get spicy, but I have a feeling that this is going to turn into another nothing burger as the federal government just blocks them over and over and over again.
Right. Possibly.
Because they'll do anything to protect him.
No, I thought that this article was kind of crazy. I read that Hugh Hefner reported Jeffrey Epstein to the FBI for the alleged rape of a Playboy playmate.
Yeah, that was surprising. Like, who knew Hugh Hefner was going to have a redemption arc and death?
Right, exactly. That's why I was surprised. Hugh Hefner reportedly notified the FBI that a Playboy playmate was sexually abused and trafficked by disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein and others in his orbit. Court records state that Hefner was told by then Playboy playmate Audra Christensen in 2005 that she was an Epstein survivor and requested the Playboy founder call the FBI, arguing he would have more status than her with the authorities. It says, let's see, it says here, he called the FBI several times with the tip, who didn't investigate the claim for 15 years, according to court documents.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole Epstein thing just stinks to high heaven. I don't know if he is working for the CIA or what the fuck was going on, but the whole thing stinks. So clearly somebody was protecting him and beyond everything while he was doing the most terrible things you could do to small children and women. and nobody cares or gives a fuck about those kids and those women. Like they just don't. I mean, which I think says a lot about our society in general and how we view the worth of women and children in our society, that we are worth less still. And this whole generational, that's just how it is. You know what I mean? And it shouldn't be. That's just how it is. Like people like that should, and I know he's dead, but they should face consequences. They shouldn't just be ignored. But no,
Right. It's
without a
crazy.
doubt, because
They
I think
didn't
there's,
investigate for 15 years. It says that she was raped by him and then trafficked for 10 years before she became a Playboy playmate.
yeah.
And
And like, why are you going to believe a woman sex worker?
right.
Right. Right. It's because they don't care about us. They don't care about women because they don't. So, not surprised.
Yeah, it
I
says the
mean,
FBI is trying to dismiss the case filed by the 34 survivors, arguing they were too late to file since the cases were between 1996 and 2017.
right. Well, of course, because they're trying to protect whatever it is they're trying to protect, or whoever it is. I believe it's whoever's that they're trying to protect, right? Like all those redacted names from the Epstein files that were released, where it's basically just pages of black, you know, it's like, well,
Right.
okay, you guys clearly, you're not going to charge anybody. You're not going to hold anybody accountable for all of this. You just want it to disappear from public knowledge that this happened. You don't like it that all these wealthy individuals are getting wrangled up in all this, which they are, and they should be because they did engage in it, right? So I don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like in 50 years, this is going to be like the JFK files, where everyone's
Right.
going to have crazy theories, but none of it's actually proven, and the government just still says nothing about it. Probably because the
Um,
government was doing it.
so I wanted to talk about Ariana Grande for a moment. Um, Basically, she said that she's taking a step back from public life and that she's going away for a while. It's pretty clearly obvious that she's struggling with an eating disorder.
Yeah, girlfriend needs like some intensive inpatient treatment. And
Uh
instead, I guess
huh.
what I saw was she and her new boyfriend, she's already moved on from the last guy, have gotten matching tattoos. And she's just like gallivanting around. And I feel particularly sad about the whole situation because I think this Ozempic thinness, these people who don't need Ozempic or Wegovy or whatever are abusing it to once again
Mm-hmm.
achieve unhealthy body standards and then pushing those unhealthy body standards as healthy on the rest of the population, especially vulnerable young women and boys, girls and boys. And I don't, she needs a lot of help. And I don't want to hear about how she died randomly in like 6 months because her heart gave
Right.
out. But
It's very
she's
worrisome and it's giving Karen Carpenter.
is really giving Karen Carpenter. And it's just shocking to me that there's just nobody that can do anything. I mean,
Right. It's like, where are her parents? Like,
right? Where's her brother? Where
mm-hmm.
does she have real friends? Where are they? Right? Because it seems
Yeah.
Like, obviously, this tour was not a good look. Obviously, I don't think she could physically do this tour with how at least she's appearing on camera. Um, so I don't, it's really, really fucking sad to watch somebody die in front of your eyes. And I feel like it's somehow even more sad when that person is a public persona. Um, because A, there's nothing you can say or do. There's no asking. You can't go up to that person and be like, hey, I really want you to go get help. Like, I care about you as a human. And I think, you know, you've got something mentally going on and you need help, right?
Yeah,
But,
for sure. I
and
know
honestly, I
anorexia is
wish,
very hard to treat.
yeah. And, it's like with most, mental illness in Hollywood, instead of taking a beat back and leaving these people alone, I feel like the media just latches onto the stories with a tenacity. And then none of these celebrities get time and space to actually heal, right? It's like, oh, well, you've got to continue your tour. You have contract, which I know we all have this sort of shit going on. But these people have more money than I know what to do with. So, would it hurt her to take a year off and go check into rehab for a year? No. Like financially, would it hurt her? Maybe a little bit. But she has so much money from Wicked and everything else that she's done. Like she could just chill, like, and yeah, for a while.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I agree. I think that taking time off is probably the best thing for her right now.
Yeah,
And I hope that she gets better because it's very concerning.
it's very concerning. And then, I've seen, even at work, I see the focus back onto thinness again, you know, where like before, like my teenage girls just wanted something that fit right. Like they just wanted to feel good in their clothes. And now I have teenage girls coming back into the kids sections, trying to fit into kid size clothing that, and some teenagers do fit into the kids section, but I have girls that very clearly have outgrown the children's section, coming back into the children's section and trying to smush into children's clothes because they're so small. That's a term. Look how small I am. And I'm like, I don't think that's something that we should keep rewarding. I wish it was, look how strong I am. Look at how beautiful I am. Look at how,
Absolutely.
smart I am, right? Which I don't know what the public education system has done to these children, but a lot of them need some serious intervention. But, besides the fact that they can't figure out what 20% off of a price means on their own, and they can't do it on their own calculator, you have to do it for them. They can't, they don't know how to do it, which I find very upsetting that you're like 17 and you can't do 20% off something. Like you can't even mentally math finagle it. Um,
Hmm. Yeah.
or
It's
they
like
just,
use a calculator on your phone.
yeah. And they're like, but I don't know how to do that on the calculator. And I'm like,
Oh, wow.
you just told me you got accepted into University of Houston and you can't work out a percentage.
So easy. um, so I thought that this was cool. Mark Cuban's pharmacy steps in after insurer denied a 26-year-old heart transplant survivor her anti-rejection drug.
Good for Mark Cuban.
I
Good for
love
Mark Cuban.
him. I love
I do
him.
too.
Um, it said the heart transplant survivor was left without coverage for a critical drug, and it took viral social media posts and attention from billionaire Mark Cuban for her to finally get more affordable access to it.
Yeah, which is also fucking ridiculous. Like these pharmaceutical insurance, medical coverage companies have gotten really, really ridiculous with what they will or will not cover. So in my own life, right, because my medical insurance changed because I went on work insurance, my insurance all of a sudden won't cover about half the medications that I technically need, right? And one of them is a daily medication I take to survive, right? It's my full thyroid replacement.
Mm-hmm.
The the specific prescription I had been on because of the tariffs is no longer being shipped to the United States, which was a drug I had really found success in. I was really feeling good. It was like the best I've felt in, since I was probably about 13, right? Like I felt really, really great on it, right? So because of the tariffs, they stopped shipping it to America, right? I could fly over to Europe and still buy it, but I can't get it here and I can't get it covered by insurance. Great. So the medications my doctor wanted to switch me on to, she had two options. Neither one of them will my insurance cover. Why?
Mm.
I, I don't know. Are they more expensive than the medication I'm currently on? No, but they just won't cover it. Just like I'm on prescription vitamin D, as you know, I have to take a really high dose of vitamin D once a week. Because
Yeah.
my whole thyroid system is crapped out. So my parathyroids allegedly aren't processing vitamin D on their own anymore. They're just not doing their job. So I was basically left with almost no vitamin D left in my system, even though I do try to go get sun and like be outside and I like to paddleboard and all this shit. Um, my body's just failed at making vitamin D or processing it, I guess. So I now have to take a very high dose of vitamin D once a week to try to get, my levels even back to reasonable. And they're still, and I've been doing this for months, they're still low. They're still not great, which is making me feel grumpy. Um, and they were covering it, but they only covered it for 3 months. Regardless of what my blood work says or what my doctor says, they only were willing to cover it for 3 months. Now, mind you, it's not a very expensive prescription. And thankfully, the pharmacy I use has like a prescription program where they're now offering me a discount on my prescription. But it's still frustrating because it's like, why am I paying in for this? Right? Like, because it was almost less expensive for all my prescriptions to pay for them out of pocket using the price saving program versus having
Right. Then
insurance
the
and the insurance
insurance.
price. Yeah.
I've been there before with insurance. I've been through that.
Yeah.
It says here that 70% of commercially insured patients were initially denied coverage for at least one newly prescribed medicine in 2024.
Yep.
So this is very common.
It's
Um,
very, very common. Just like
I know they denied covering two of my medications.
yeah.
And one of them I just quit taking because I couldn't afford it.
Yeah. Which also shouldn't be like, that shouldn't be the place we're at as a country, where it's like, hey, you know how you should be carrying an EpiPen with you all the time? Guess what? They're like over $600. So insurance is only going to cover part of that. So a new pack of EpiPens is still going to cost you $400 because insurance really doesn't think that you need them and they're only going to cover them this one time,
Mm-hmm.
even though they expire every year. So it's
Right.
like, yeah, this is why I like going down on to fucking Progresso and just crossing over and going to the pharmacy and buying it in Mexico. Like it's worth the
Yeah,
week trip. It's worth the weekend trip and the 8-hour drive.
for sure. Well, I think that's an excellent idea. And that's what our mom used to do as well.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think that's going to wrap it up for today's episode of the Henry Hudson Hour. A big thank you to my sister, Emily Claypool, for coming back on the show and, as always, saying exactly what she thinks. I think today's conversation is a reminder that hope doesn't have to mean pretending everything is okay. Sometimes today really does suck. Tomorrow might not be much better, but tomorrow is still a new day, and with it comes the possibility of something unexpected, even if it's nothing more than a small moment that makes the day a little easier. If you enjoyed today's episode, I'd love to hear from you. You can find me on Instagram at Henry Hudson Hour or email me at henryhudsonhour@gmail.com. Whether you have feedback, guest suggestions, or just want to say hello, I'd be happy to hear from you. Music featured in the Henry Hudson Hour is by John Bartman. Until next time, thanks for listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.